I am willing to bet that you have been in a meeting where your boss shares something that they expect you to take on, yet another exciting opportunity. And all you can think is, exactly when am I supposed to do this? Or maybe you are trying to coach your team, think strategically about the next quarter, and deliver high quality work. And then an executive dumps another urgent project on your desk that completely throws your week into chaos. If this sounds familiar, you are not alone. My name is Melody Wilding. I am an award winning executive coach, human behavior professor, and I am the author of Managing Up: How to Get What You Need from the People in Charge. One of the biggest misconceptions about managing up is that it's something you do to make your leader's life easier. In actuality, managing up is not about your boss at all. It's about you doing your best work, securing the resources, the opportunities, the recognition, the peace of mind that you deserve. Because your career growth and your confidence, it doesn't only depend on how well you perform your responsibilities. It also depends on how effectively you advocate for yourself, you influence decision makers, you design the conditions for your success. And that's very true for our topic today, which is the boundaries conversation, which is one of the 10 key conversations I cover in the book to help you earn the autonomy and authority that you deserve. The boundaries conversation is how you actively protect your time, your energy, and your focus. It's how you handle those last minute requests, the scope creep, constant interruptions, the unrealistic deadlines. And it is not as simple as just saying no. It's more about articulating what you need to succeed, redirecting requests to more appropriate channels, negotiating for better timelines, conditions, and sometimes strategically saying yes while setting parameters for the future. The boundaries conversation ultimately is about teaching people how to treat you. What makes you truly valuable in your role is your ability to think deeply, to connect meaningfully with your team, to solve problems that the machines can't. But you can't do any of that when you are drowning in the minutia and when you are pulled in 100 different directions. Yet when it comes to setting boundaries, many leaders, we summon all of our courage, we take a deep breath and center ourselves, and then we just blurt something out, only to then be branded not a team player or difficult to work with. What we don't talk about enough is what I call your pushback power, the leverage you do or do not have, and how often and how assertively you can say no. Just think about it. The exact same words can land completely differently depending on who is saying them, who they are saying them to, and the invisible power dynamics at play. If you are not aware of this, it's really easy to come off too strong or to be too weak. The good news is that even if you are lower on pushback power, it doesn't mean you can't say no. You still can, but you have to be even more diplomatic and selective with how you go about it. When we are given more work, when we're asked to join yet another meeting, we're handed yet another project, most of us fall into one or two extremes. We people please and we give that instant knee jerk yes that leaves us feeling overwhelmed, or we go the other direction. We snap back, we give a sharp, no way, how could you even think I have time for all of that? And that can damage our relationships and our reputation. So instead, what I want you to do is get curious first. The reality is, you often can't evaluate a request just on the face value. So, what I want you to do is ask better questions. Things like, what made me come to mind for this? Do you see this being a one off or an ongoing commitment? Who else is involved and who else will this be visible to in leadership? What's the timeline you're thinking of? What specific skills do you need for this project? When you ask questions, it helps buy you time while also showing you are engaged. You might actually discover, you might get more information here and see that it is a growth opportunity, that it does align with your goals, and you do want to say yes to it. Or you might uncover details that make it clear this is not really the right fit for you or your team. And that allows you to suggest someone who is better suited or negotiate different terms around it. So when you ask smart questions, that transforms you from reactive to strategic. It shows you are thoughtful, you are not just being dismissive, and it gives you the information you need to make an informed choice rather than one you're just going to regret later. So, once you have gathered more information through those questions, you need practical strategies to set boundaries without burning bridges, no matter what level, no matter how experienced you are. Even if you are senior, you still need to manage up to the C suite. Even if you are the CEO, you still need to manage up to the board. Now, when your pushback power is limited, try the conditional yes. You say yes now to demonstrate that you are, in fact, a team player and you build social capital for the future. You will also, by doing this, you make it clear that in the future, if a similar type of request comes, you're going to have to set a boundary. So here's what this could sound like. I can take this on now because I know this is urgent, but going forward, I'll need a week's notice for projects this size. Or I'll help with this launch, but afterwards, we should discuss redistributing some of these responsibilities. So when you do this, when you use the conditional yes, you're showing you're not a pushover and you are playing the long game. You are investing in goodwill with that person by essentially doing them a favor that you can draw on later. So this works well, psychologically speaking, because it activates reciprocity. That is one of the most powerful principles of influence. By helping someone in their moment of need when they come to you, you almost create this light sense of obligation that makes future boundary setting more likely to be respected. It also minimizes the threat response. The other person doesn't feel rejected in the moment that they have something they need done. So it keeps the relationship intact. So this helps preserve your reputation. It positions you as solution oriented while still allowing you to be mindful about managing your capacity. Another powerful approach is the trade off. This is particularly useful because it demonstrates strategic thinking and business acumen. It acknowledges reality. Something has to give when new work is added. So instead of a simple yes or no, you are presenting options. You're essentially saying, I can take on this project, but that means I'm going to need to delay something else by a couple of days. What would you prefer? Or I'm happy to handle this emergency, but I'll need someone else to cover tomorrow's team meeting. Now, this uses the psychology of forced choice, giving the other person decision making power while still protecting your workload. You are actively problem solving with them, again, instead of just throwing up a blocker and saying no. And it forces everyone to confront that we have a finite amount of time and resources here. So when you use the trade off, it signals you are thinking about the big picture. You are not just out for your own personal comfort. And this works because it transforms you from someone who is a bottleneck to someone who is a collaborator. It shifts the conversation from will you do this to how will we manage this? And when you present options, you're demonstrating leadership by doing that. You are showing you understand that priorities have to be balanced, that resources are limited, that choices have consequences. So that builds respect while also respecting your time. There's a quote that says, a person's success in life is directly proportional to the amount of uncomfortable conversations they are willing to have. That is especially true for leaders who want to make a real impact. So if you are serious about working at your highest level, leveraging those uniquely human capabilities that you have, creative problem solving, emotional intelligence, strategic thinking, you have to be protective of your time and energy. The boundaries conversation helps you do that by creating space for your most valuable work. Now, keep in mind that some pushback is to be expected, especially if you have been over accommodating for a long time. People might be used to getting an automatic yes for you. And when that resistance happens, just calmly reiterate your intention. You can say, I'm asking to keep the deadline realistic because I care about the impression we make and the quality of our work. That reframes your boundary coming from commitment, not as defiance or resistance. Remember too that when you have these conversations, you are modeling behavior for your entire team. Every time you respectfully set a limit, you give other people permission to do the same thing. And boundary setting can become contagious in a good way. It starts to create a culture where everyone can bring their best thinking instead of their most frazzled selves. You can grab a copy of my book, Managing Up, at managingup.com. Enter your order confirmation details on that page, and you will get access to a bonus vault of worksheets and scripts from the book. You can also download exact scripts and phrasing for pushing back diplomatically at work at melodywilding.com/say no.